Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video, we are going to kick off Halloween projects over here on the channel for 2025. Really cool. You guys probably are already aware that Halloween is one of my favorite seasons. It's when I get to dress up in the pirate gear and go out and put smiles on faces at community events and fall festivals and parties and things like that. I'm really excited for the Halloween season each and every year when it comes around on the calendar. I've already got the pattern prepped and it's laying on the table saw in front of me, and the design comes from an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing, fall 2019 issue 76 to be precise, and it has the nice Antarja dragon there on the cover. And the design we're going to be doing specifically comes toward the back of the magazine on pages 68 and 69, and here you see a visual representation of what we're going to be making in today's video. In a visual aspect, it says Fall Alphacons, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it says these might be the easiest jack-o'-lanterns you've ever cut by Mr. Dave Van S, and I hope I am pronouncing his last name correctly. So a really cool and creative design here. And what I really like about this, on the opposite page you have the full English alphabet here, so you could potentially and virtually make any name you wanted to out of these little coins that are shaped like Halloween pumpkins. You can see A through Z here, and I'm sure it would be easy to copy it and put the numbers in it if you wanted to put some numbers or something in it. I've got the pattern photocopied to its full size, and I cut out the letters that I needed. Here is the leftover. Again, if you were going to be making multiples of these, you would have to cut out several different ones, or print out several different ones, excuse me, to get the appropriate amount of letters. And I feel, since this is the first Halloween scroll saw project of 2025 for the platform this year, I felt it would only be appropriate to cut out the word Halloween to get the season started properly. But again, you can basically make any name, and there's so many options and versatility for displaying, using, and creating this design. They have it right here in the magazine with some electronic tea lights behind it to give it an eerie, spooky glow for the Halloween season. On the patterns, they've also got little holes. I don't know if that's coming up on camera, little dots to represent pilot holes. You could, of course, cut out a celebratory name, like Happy Anniversary if you were married during the spooky season or something, and string this on a string with some lights for some nice seasonal decor. So one thing I really love about scroll saw woodworking patterns and designs and the scroll saw itself is the option and versatility for creative and unique designs. As I said, the pattern has been photocopied and the appropriate letters for the word Halloween have been cut out, and I've got them attached to this thin piece of oak I milled down over at the Rikon table saw. Now, due to the nature of the Halloween name, it's got 2 L's and 2 E's. We are going to stack cut and make 2 of them. Please be aware, oak, especially when you mill it down thin, can be very brittle over at the scroll saw. So we're going to do what we always do and take our time and let the blade do the work and be as loyal as we can be to the cut line. And then we're going to make a base like it's visually represented in the magazine I just showed you guys. And I really want to use this darker piece of material. I do believe this is mahogany. It doesn't smell like walnut or anything, but I would mill it down to a thinner dimension. And if the letters are too long to fit on this base, I also feel like cedar would be an appropriate color for the spooky season. The dark red texture and color for the fall and autumn vibes. This is a scrap piece I picked up at the local hardwood store. And of course, I would also mill this down thinner for an appropriate size base. But really cool, since everything is pretty much prepped and prepared, and I'm excited to get the Halloween season started properly for the year. Let's move the camera, drill the pilot holes required, so we can head over to the Rikon scroll saw and start scrolling. And over here on the workbench, we are taking the Seiko Scroller's drill and drilling out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. And you will see that I have a backer board behind the scroll saw work to prevent blowout of the pilot holes on the reverse side. But after all of the pilot holes are drilled, we will head over to the Rikon scroll saw and begin scrolling. As I said at the beginning, all of the little miniature pumpkins with the letters are made out of oak, and oak is a harder and denser material, so it's just a little bit of a slower cut over at the scroll saw, unlike if you were cutting out pine or basic 1/4 inch material. but we will get through all of the internal cuts here, of course taking our time and letting the blade do the work. For all of the scrolling on this project, I'll be using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade, and it will cut through our oak material here exceptionally well with a minimal chip out. Here at the close-up view, it's an even slower than normal cut because we are stack cutting the 2 L pumpkins that make up Halloween as well as the 2 E's. And you can see this project has some of those tight V turns, and you can see how I achieve those. I'll go in one side of the V and back the scroll saw blade back out and go into the other side, tapering the V point down to as fine a point as the pattern calls for. If you guys would like to try this pattern, it's available in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. They always offer fantastic magazines as well as books at foxchapelpublishing.com. Doesn't take long at all to cut out all of these letters. And again, depending on the name, it'll depict how long it takes to cut everything out. You guys seen me just putting in a fresh, sharp number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade. Again, the oak is a harder material. And I photocopied the pattern's 2 size out of the magazine. And you can, of course, enlarge these letters if you want to go on a sign to put out on your porch or deck during the Halloween season. So always options and versatility for each and every pattern you come across. I am now taking my time and doing the final outside cuts to release the individual letters that make up the word Halloween. And I'm trying to be as loyal to the cut line as possible because I want all of the little miniature pumpkins to be symmetrical. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. Once all of the letters are cut out, again, we're back to the stack cut letters here. But once all of the scroll work is complete on them, we can begin to get ready to make a base. And over here at the workbench, after taking the patterns off, I'll line up the word Halloween. And I really wanted the base to be made out of the darker material, but it wasn't long enough, so I did use the piece of cedar material here, but it was way too thick in my opinion for the base. So over at the Rikon table saw, I carefully milled it down to a thinner dimension, and only do this at the table saw if you are comfortable over at the machine. I was being as careful as I could be. But now over here at the workbench, I'll set up, the little miniature pumpkins on the base, and I'll freehand a little design here that I think looks cool. And then we'll go back over to the scroll saw for the final time and do this final cut here. Cedar cuts very well over at the scroll saw, very nice and smooth. And I'm still using that same number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade. But after we get done here, all of the scroll saw work on this Halloween project will be complete. And then it'll be time for sanding. I sanded the base with 180 grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper in the vibrating palm sander with small circular motions. Sanded the front and back side here. And then I opted to sand all of the individual pumpkin letters by hand with a high grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper in this little palm sander I have that has a piece of foam in it that helps it contour around everything. But I'll again sand the front and back side of everything here. And once I'm happy and satisfied with all of the sanding, it'll be time for glue up. And for glue up, I'll use medium grade CA glue and activator here. And I'll line all of the letters up before beginning the glue up process. I'm just trying to make sure they are all spaced evenly and working quickly here with the CA glue. But after all of the letters are glued in place, I'll spray it with activator and let it dry and cure for around 5 minutes, and then it'll be time for a finish. And for finishing, I gave the project several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss, and it really made the natural grain textures of the oak and cedar material we used in today's project pop. And when it dried, the project will be complete. And here we have the completed Halloween nameplate made with the small pumpkin coins, and it finished up beautifully with some nice and crisp and somewhat spooky detail in it with the fall and autumn colors with the natural grains and textures of the materials we used in today's video. Really, really cool. First Halloween Scroll Saw project video of 2025 is complete, and I want to once again thank Mr. Dave Van S, and again I hope I'm pronouncing his last name properly, for a beautiful and creative design and also versatile design from an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Travel Publishing. I'll once again hold that magazine up as we get ready to close the video here momentarily. It took me around 35 minutes to scroll everything out completely from start to finish. It's not an overly complex design. It's just a very small and miniature design, and some of the cuts can be a little bit tedious with all of the tight V-turns and everything. So I did what I always do over at the Scroll Saw, and I took my time and I let the blade do the work, and I was as loyal as I could be to the cut line, and I hope that the results speak for themselves visually with what I have made here in my hand. So really, really cool. For the individual letters, we used oak, and oak, as I said at the beginning, can be a very brittle material to work with, especially once you start milling it down to thinner thicknesses like I did for today over on the table saw to get the thickness of the material for each of the letters. So again, I was just very careful with everything, and again took my time and let the blade do the work. Now at the beginning I showed you that darker piece of material, and unfortunately it wasn't long enough for the proper spacing for the base for a nice display for these to stand on like we have here. So I went with the piece of cedar that I also showed you at the beginning of the video, and I put a nice little wavy front on it, kind of a spooky, eerie thing, and this is now ready to be proudly displayed on a shelf, desk, or countertop. And the Rust-Oleum clear gloss we added at the end really brought out those natural grains and textures of the oak. The oak really has a nice rustic fall and autumn earth tone to it, in my opinion, and then the cedar has a nice spooky red to represent the Halloween season, although I would have liked that darker material to represent like the dirt that the pumpkins are sitting in. But it is what it is, and I still think the project finished up beautifully. Options and versatility for this pattern and design is limitless, in my opinion, as long as you think outside of the box and just do some creative and different features with it, meaning that you can do this project in so many different and creative ways. I cut it out basically as represented in the magazine. Now in the magazine they showed some electronic tea lights behind each individual letter, and that would be a cool way to display it if you made the base long enough in the back for it to sit on. As I've cut it out here and finished it, I can potentially get a small LED strip back here, you know, one of those you use with a little remote, and put some different spooky colors with it. So there's a display option. Of course, you could enlarge each of these coins if you wanted to make them for a nice fall themed sign. You could, of course, import them over to a laser engraver if you wanted to do that and had the capability to do it, and cut these out of cardstock or cardboard for stencil purposes. And as I said, the pattern that I'm going to show you here momentarily had a little pilot hole at the top of each pumpkin, so you could of course cut this out, drilled a hole through all of them, and strung them on a string to hang over a door, a mantle, an archway outside, or something like that. So again, there is limitless possibilities for this creative and unique designs. As a matter of fact, I might want to make a future Wednesday discussion style video where we talk about the options and versatility for a pattern like this and how important it is to think outside of the box out in your garage or workshop. But I'm really happy with how this came out. Of course, my late grandfather who taught me and introduced me to scroll saw woodworking, he was born on Halloween. So it's got a sentimental reason for me, as well as the fun of being able to dress up as the pirate and go out and put smiles on faces and make seasonal memories. But really happy with how this project came out, and hopefully in your guys' opinions you like how it came out as well. Of course, this can be displayed in a windowsill, as I said, a shelf, desk, or countertop, or on a tabletop. You could make nameplates for a fall festival, for a Halloween get-together or party, you know, table placemats. You know, again, there's just other options and versatility for this creative design. And the way I made it, it did not take up much material. Here is all that's left of the material that we used in today's scroll saw project video. You can see it all fits comfortably in the palm of my hand, with the exception of that long piece we milled down for the cedar. And speaking of milling down the cedar, only mill material like that down at your table saw if you are comfortable milling stuff down. I want you guys to be as safe as possible out in your garage or workshops whenever you are making beautiful projects and designs. But here is the full-size pattern we photocopied. Again, all letters of the English alphabet are represented here, and I cut out the ones that made Halloween, and the ones, or the way, excuse me, that I attach patterns to the material for scroll saw woodworking is 99% of the time I use clear packing tape. I have used spray adhesive and blue painter's tape in the past, but with basic clear packing tape, once I cut everything out, if I needed to make this project again, I could potentially just take what I used in today's video and tape it right onto some fresh material, drill more pilot holes, and keep on over at the scroll saw. So that's a really cool way to reuse the patterns when you use the clear packing tape method. But once again, the design that we did today and brought to life in a visual aspect was from Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts Magazine, Fall 2019, issue 76 to be precise, with the nice intarsia medieval and fantasy dragon on the cover. And not only this project was in it and the dragon project, but it was 24 special projects with the full-size patterns in the ever-popular pattern pull-out section in each and every issue of this amazing magazine. And the design we done again was on pages 68 and 69. So there you see the patterns we photocopied over at the printer to get started with. And then the article for how to make it and potential uses is on the following page. And there again you see the visual representation of the one they had featured, and here is the one we made today for the platform. So again, options and versatility. You see they have some seasonal autumn colored leaves displayed with it. Another option for displaying it. You could put little pumpkins on either side of this, like real live miniature pumpkins. And again, as depicted in the magazine here, as you can see, they have little electronic tea lights behind each individual letter, so it could give off a spooky and seasonal glow for Halloween. But really, really cool. And it also says down here, the author of the design, Mr. Dave Van S., also has a full book of 28 alphabet patterns for the scroll saw. So right there at the bottom, if you guys want to seek that out, I believe, yes, at foxchapelpublishing.com. So if you did not want to do pumpkins and you wanted to do some heart ones, looks like some Christmas tree ones, an apple themed one maybe for a teacher in your life, you know, so there's different ones that use this unique design with shapes with the English alphabet within it. So really, really cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was fun to kick off the Halloween season by appropriately cutting out the word Halloween for a nice little spooky and autumn themed display piece for the season. Had a lot of fun today, and hopefully along the way you guys picked up a tip, trick, or tidbit along the way. Had a lot of fun in this one as Halloween draws ever closer here in 2025. That's going to be about all for this one. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you guys. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.